Hi, and welcome to the Indie Music Podcast, the podcast for independent musicians and other audio professionals. We're your hosts. I'm Matt Denton, also known as Mojo of Ragged Birds Music. I'm a Bay Area mix engineer and recording artist. And Douglas Reynolds of Resonance Mastering, a mastering engineer in Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome to Indie Music Podcast, episode 225. Tonight, Matt and Doug talk about auditioning methods. They discuss auditioning their client work on various speakers and devices, strategies for listening, and using tools to help isolate and detect problems. Enjoy the show. Something was routing incorrectly, but I think it's fine now.
Oh, that's cool.
But that's why I audition this stuff beforehand.
Yeah, well, it's good to, I tell my kids too, even if you're not going to hop on the Zoom until the Zoom starts, you got to show up early, get your stuff set up, check your mic, check your headphones, I sit down and I got to make sure I'm using the right microphone, not my webcam microphone. There's a lot of pre-check stuff that goes into these things. We're not just a couple of pretty faces here that show up and everything just works all the time. It's not magic.
Yeah,
it's not magic. We work at this.
No, that's why we don't do video because it's just too good looking.
That's the reason. Yeah, I was enjoying our talk last time about REW, and after our chat, I did get inspired to order some isolation stands for my monitors.
All right.
Which
did they come? They come?
They're in transit. At 2:00 this morning, they were in Arizona, and at 2:00 this afternoon, they were north of Los Angeles. So they're still on the way, but I'm not holding my breath that they'll be here before I go to bed. That's okay.
Well, when you told me earlier today that you were tracking your stands, I had this vision in my head of you like with a microphone up on your stands.
That's so funny. Like I choice of words there. I was tracking the package.
And it's like, wait, you checking for, resonances from your monitors coming through the stands?
Yeah, no, see, that would be really, that's more like something you would do.
In fact, I have
I'm doing a 3D resonance of my stands so that I could subtract them through a subtractive EQ IR impulse. No, not quite. That'd be funny, though. So, long week. It's over.
It is. This is Friday was like, you ever have those dreams where you're like running, trying to catch something and it keeps getting further away? You know what I mean? That's what Friday has been like all week.
Yeah, I thought today was Saturday. Yesterday was so Friday.
Oh, yesterday was very Friday. I said, it's so funny because I said that to my wife and then later talked to you and you're like, it's so Friday today. And it's literally got done saying. Yeah. We had like this elusive Friday connection going on.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know what it was. This week was just a bear. And by 3:00, I was so over it that I just decided to call it quits and took a nap. I couldn't deal with it anymore. Which is another reason I did vocal warm-ups, because, if you go to sleep, your voice gets all weird. Mine does. Maybe yours doesn't.
Wolfman Jack kind of thing going on.
Yeah, the jackhammer stopped. The crows went away. The
leaf
blower, boy, he went on a lot longer than I expected, but he's done. And now it's just me and swallowing the wrong way. But I'm good to go now.
So it's like, what are the arch enemies of the Shred studio?
That
would be jackhammers, crows, and
definitely leaf blowers.
And leaf blowers.
But also things falling on the roof. I mean, I'm under a tree and it's been so crazy windy lately that it's just like
is it a metal roof or
no, it's
asphalt
it's like it's I guess plywood with shingles on it.
Your roofing material is shingles.
Yeah, no, it's not like corrugated galvanized steel or anything like that. But it's if a piece of branch falls on it, you hear it.
Hopefully, like in between you're talking, where you can just cut that out.
Yeah, it's rarely actually disruptive, but it does startle me when it happens.
I need a plugin that just like cuts all the gaps out, just takes them out completely. I wonder if one exists, because by the time I get done post, like Asia's running around or or something like that happens, and just
You don't mean do you mean like a noise gate, or do you mean like it shrinks everything?
no, I just want it to detect when when the levels are at 50 dB or below, just cut it out. Just cut
Just cut it.
Not like a gate, because gates are weird.
Yeah, they can flutter. I don't like that.
Yeah. And then end up with like the first part of your word getting cut off. And
yeah, I've been playing with noise gate settings. I have a couple noise gates I choose between, and I've been playing with settings, and I haven't found anything that's exactly right. But
yeah, well, I'm using a hardware gate right now, and it's just very, it's just really lightly touching it.
Yeah.
As I look at my waveform, as we're talking and going through the show, I'm like, oh, look at all this post edit.
Well, hardware gates are tough because your signal is baked in, right? So you can't get anything that was chopped off. You can't get it back. I can always adjust mine if I needed to, and the noise is still there for better or for worse. But yeah, I do a lot of post.
Yeah. So I have this on just light. It's just covering my noise floor. I don't know where it's at. It's probably anything minus 60 and below. It's just cutting.
Oh, okay. I'm less conservative. I'm minus 38.
Oh, yeah. If I set mine to minus 38, it'll start getting into my voice in that neighborhood. So I'm usually, my noise floor is like 58, minus 58.
Yeah, mine varies. You know what I forgot to mention last time is it's good. They recommend you have your own noise meter, and there are apps on your phone that can do that, to tell your ambient room sound and to calibrate your signal coming from your speakers.
I can actually see it with my mic, just in my metering with my microphone.
Yeah, the instructions for REW mentioned they recommend you use a external, like, non-computer meter. I mean, I'm sure the one that's built in is fine, but it's good to have.
That's all I've ever used. I mean, I use the calibration mic as an SPL meter, so it's measuring the noise floor too.
Yeah, I've not had any problem with that, but it's kind of cool to double check with, and it's not hard to get an app for your phone to do that.
Yeah, I've thought about getting a regular handheld SPL meter. That's the one that they're recommending. One of those that with the built-in microphone on it and stuff. They actually make one, but it's kind of spendy and it's sort of frivolous, but they make an SPL meter, like a digital display you can hang on your wall in the studio that has a microphone on it. And then you can, that's kind of cool looking.
I was going to say, it's probably, it makes your room look much more official, but it's probably not that necessary. But I bet it looks cool.
But it would look really cool.
It'd be even cooler if you could make it change colors, like the LED. LCD light would change color. Yeah, that would be cool. Like
some VU meters on it or something.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff you could do. So that was last week's topic, though. This week's topic is something else altogether. This week's topic, we are talking about how do you audition your audio.
Yeah, like I didn't try to get us into that already 2 times.
Oh, see, I guess I fumbled. You gave me the handoff and I fumbled the ball. Sorry, man.
Oh, man. I mean, obviously I want to get in on this conversation, but from what we were talking about, and listeners, if you don't know, like Matt and I like chat a lot and just, it usually starts out with, got a topic idea? No.
And this is the day of. Typically.
Yeah. And then just start shooting stuff around. What are you interested in this week? What do you, and then we were talking about, I did a master on a practice mix Matt did, and Matt gave me some feedback on it that the stereo image was out of balance. And then come to find out, he didn't have his headphones plugged in all the way, and he was only hearing it out of his right side.
Like a dum-dum.
Because I'm like, well, I thought it was a little bit right. Oh, you thought it was left, actually. And I was like, well, I thought it was a little bit right, honestly.
I was getting a partial signal on the other side, which is why I thought that it was, because only the center was off. The sides were
I was like,
normal.
Do you have your left and right reversed? I was like, I had to go check my wire. Did I have my left and right reversed? Because I certainly heard that on the right a little bit, but.
And that is true.
But
the secondary vocal was a little bit like, 10%, off. And that was on purpose. But yeah, and then we started talking about, okay, so how do you audition? Because I was listening to mixes yesterday through my, Amazon Alexa, which is replaced basically my car test, the old car test. And I figure if it sounds good through there, then I know it sounds good. And so, yeah, so that's what we were talking about. How do you listen to your audio as, to proof it, to prove that it's what you want it to be?
yeah. And as I mentioned to you, I don't often go any further than my mains. And that's solely because I have auditioned on so many other things so many times before now that I understand what I'm hearing out of my mains. I know it's going to translate, when I get the sound that I'm looking for. But I still do some stuff. Like, I know I've talked about my streaming media server. It's on my home network. And so I can connect through SMB or Samba and transfer files into my network streamer. And so after I bounce a file, then I'll send it up to the network streamer and then go listen on my hi-fi. And then I'll put that, I like to get that MP3 or WAV, usually WAV actually, onto my phone. And so I usually I text message it to myself.
Do you really?
That's, yeah. Because I can, on my Mac, I can use the Messages app.
I never thought of that.
And just drop it in there and text it. And then I got it in like 30 seconds, It's the fastest way I've found versus like uploading to Drive and then downloading back again, I just play it from the text message, So, and then delete it. But once it's on my phone, then I listen to it. I like to listen on my phone speakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. I was going to mention that.
And then my AirPods are not known to have great bass. So it's always important to me to see how a song will translate onto them, knowing that, I know what bass I had out of my mains in the studio. I had a lot of bass, for example, but that's not going to get reproduced in my AirPods. So how does it sound without that?
Yeah, that's why it's important, because there's no bass response, but you want to make sure you can hear it on small speakers like that.
Yeah. But again, every time I do it now, okay, that's what I expected. and it's just because I've done it so many times. Right. I've gotten to a point where, why don't I trust my mains? How come I'm taking this out and listening everywhere still?
Well, I think it's good to do that check. I think it's important.
Yeah. But the thing is that I only do that maybe 10 or 15% of the time now. Yeah. And it just depends on, like, the song's a little different genre or something about it,
Yeah, that's a good place to be. And my mains are new enough that it's not that I don't trust them. It's just that I'm still not quite used to them. I whenever I can, I listen to music through them for pleasure, just to get the sound of what they sound like in the room. And that way I'm used to what music is supposed to sound like coming out of them. But I've never had, before I bought these, like, reliable, near field monitors and a reliable space to play them in. So I'm so used to using headphones, which is what I use for, probably about 50% of what I'm doing, and definitely what I use for my close editing, like vocal editing and all the fine stuff, listening for mouth clicks and pops and bad edits and stuff like that. I definitely use my Sony cans for that. But so I mix a lot now in the
cans. I have I have headphones hanging off my desk.
Yeah.
And those are there for, for confidence checks and stuff. Just my signal's always going into my phones and to my mains. So at any point in time, I can just grab my phones and, like, double check something, But that's all I really use those for, is just to check, am I hearing what I thought I just heard, type of thing. But I don't have the bass reproduction in my cans that I do in open air.
Right.
And so it's usually not to check that, but it's like to hear something maybe that, in a closed back environment, that I want to make sure, did I just hear that? And then go and double check, because it's a little bit more enclosed environment
Exactly.
than
Yeah.
headphones,
Yeah. I'm wearing open backs right now, but I only use closed backs for mixing and auditioning.
Yeah. Hey, Crow.
Yeah, I know. You can totally hear him now. They're having a party out there right now. I would go shoo them away, but that would be more disruptive than just editing it out. So yeah, so I do a lot more mixing on the mains now. I still do some of the mixing on the cans, and then I do checks on my earbuds. I have a couple of pairs that are the same pair because when I found that I liked them, I went and bought a few pairs of them. There's some little Panasonic wired earbuds that I really know the sound very well, and I use those for kind of like small speaker check. And then one thing that I used to do more of that mixing and mono thing, which I will still do just to make sure I have the blend right. God dang it, that stupid crow. I do the mixing and mono to make sure I have the blend right.
Carl's like mono too.
But yeah, they are mono, monochromatic and mono. But I'll drop one earbud out and just listen on one earbud, and that kind of changes the way your brain pays attention to the music, and you really hear stuff that maybe psychoacoustically you would have not noticed was something was, oh hey, that's louder than I thought it was, or oh that's quieter than I thought it was. You'll notice when you only have one earbud in. It should really be a pretty even mix, and your brain can get fooled, especially listening for a period of time. So that's a good way to do it. And then I mentioned Alexa and then the phone thing. So I did want to ask, because you mentioned checking on your phone, and that is a good way to test not only how it sounds on small speakers, but I do find that sometimes really well mixed and mastered music actually doesn't sound bad coming out of an iPhone speaker. But what do you think about those plugins like Mix Checker that emulate all those different scenarios? And you'd like click a button and it emulates a car, and you click another button and it emulates a television. And you know what I mean? How do you feel about those?
Yeah, about the same way I feel about browser check plugins,
Yeah, me too. Here's what it would look like on an iPad. Maybe.
I'd rather just listen to it on my iPad. So I guess, that thing is that I have lots of different devices that I've accumulated over the years for this reason, it's analog. I just want to hear it on the real thing, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay. So a lot of I've seen like the old studio trick is you have like your mains, like your tannoys or your whatever. And then you have like your weirder ones, like your NS10s, which, if it sounds good on that, it reproduces the mid range and nothing else is probably good. And I have an EQ setting that I made to do that.
I got an old pair of they sound really good. Actually,
yeah.
It's a 5-inch M Audios, the BX5s. Had them for a long time. A long time ago, these were the only thing I had. So I still keep them on my desk, and they are akin to maybe not as dry as an NS10, but they definitely don't. They're only a 5-inch driver and stuff with a
bass port in the back, right?
I think it's a 1-inch, and it's got a bass port in the back. They go down to 50 hertz, and they actually do. I've measured it. They do it well. I've got them sitting on a set of custom isolation pads that I built.
Right. I remember
you
telling me about that.
Isolation pads. So I had to laugh earlier because I have actually measured isolation pads before.
Of course you have.
But yeah, so I've got the old cheap and dirty monitors that if it sounds good on them, it's good.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sound good, it will let you know. I think another thing I want to mention about auditioning on my mains, I guess on these monitors too, but I haven't in a long time, is I do, like the mono signal that you were talking about, and then I'll do flip-flop phase polarity.
Oh, that's a good one too, yeah.
And so I do a few checks like that just to check to make sure that the things, that I've done that are like in mid-side stuff aren't like messing with phase or something like that. Normally, I don't have a lot of risk in that type of thing with what I do, but I like to check it that way because it gives me a good idea of how this actually sounds. And then I also have another tool where I can listen to right only, left only, or just the mids only, or then combinations of like mid and left and mid and right, or just left and right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I can audition that way too. It's all on the same set of on my mains, but then I can just kind of check all that, and that's a good thing to do. It'll reveal things that you may not have heard when it's all grouped together,
Right.
and kind of isolate things. Oh well, yeah, check that on the left side. It's just something that you might catch, and so that's really nice, and it doesn't take long to do.
No. Well, do you have a balance control on your monitor controller? Could you just like turn it to one side and then the other side just to get a fake mono signal or not?
No, I've got a mono control, but I don't have a balance control. So I use the Flux stereo tool
Right. Okay.
plugin, and that's what I use for going and left and right channels only and flipping phase. It's nice because I can flip phase both directions. There's a phase on the left or the phase on the right you can flip phase on both of them if you want and reverse. So whatever, and just basically listen to the left on the right and the right on the left if you want to. So, and all completely backwards out of phase too.
Yeah, I use the free manipulator plugin from Boz Labs. It does the same thing. You can do mono, left only, right only, flip both. It's always lives on my stereo bus, and it's great for those kind of checks.
Yeah, and this has a gonometer.
Oh, that's cool too.
So you can see what your stereo image visualization is, and I think those are always interesting. I have several different meters that I look at and compare stuff to.
Yeah, gonometers are cool.
I mean, honestly, to put it out there, I use the let me pull it up. I use the Metric AB.
Oh yeah. That's a
metering
great plugin.
And there's so much to it. I use the playback and spectrum tabs on that, the tools that are built into it, all the time. The other stuff, a little bit, not so much. I don't use it for loudness and stuff like that. I've got other metering tools that I use for that.
Yeah, I use that for reference checks. I don't use it for loudness, but I will use it for like the stereo, and then I'll use it by band for a reference check against similar song.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't noticed, in the right above the AB button, there's a mono left, center, right, or just sides buttons.
Yep.
And so you can audition those channels alone just in the plugin like that too. So I use that.
Cool. Jackhammer's back.
Oh, nice.
I'm glad you can't hear it. Or maybe you can.
I can't.
It's because of my nice noise gate. Yeah, so I was going to say for those M audio speakers that you have, that used to be my mains was the one down from those M audios. I had the, I think 4-inch driver ones, and they actually sounded pretty good. I mean, yeah, they have the bass port, which is, a little kludgy, but yeah, they didn't sound bad. I was thinking more like computer speakers, like those are going to be your, what they call the grot boxes,
I had these paired up with my sub.
Oh.
And it was fantastic. It was a great mixing environment, setup.
Yeah, but that sounded all right.
And I mean, BX5s, I don't know, they're M audios. I don't know. I actually got them because they were damaged. I got them for like really cheap. They had a shelf they were sitting on. They were display model, and the shelf fell down.
Oh, no.
So they got one of them's got like a big like divot in it, and the other, I don't know. And so they're damaged, but it didn't hurt the drivers or anything. It just hurt them cosmetically, I was like, yeah, I'll take them.
Yeah, floor models is a great way to get stuff that's basically either lightly used or unused that they just can't sell as new. But that sounds like a little more than just a floor model. Yeah. I forget.
My mains are custom. One thing I was going to bring up is like you're working in a near field environment,
right?
And I think that lends itself more to the need of auditioning on different devices than me, because I'm working in a full range far field environment.
I agree, because you can tune your room and have it be that way and do DSP, and it's basically one size fits all because it's there.
Yeah. And it's full range.
Right.
So I know what's I know what is in the material, when I'm hearing it.
Right.
And if it's there and it's balanced well, and again, I've practiced, I've gone out to all these different devices and other rooms and things like that and listened and in the car, and I just know them.
Yeah. That's a good place to be. What's the weirdest thing you've auditioned on?
I don't know, on the toilet?
No. I'd say the phone is a good one. I was thinking about like when I was trying to remember who it was. I think it was Joe Barresi.
Just remembering that. What's that show where
Hollywood? No. So, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
So Jack, where's the
weirdest place you've had sex? In the butt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. I knew exactly what you were gonna say. Show was that? It was the Newlywed Game, wasn't it?
No.
I mean, it's from the 70s. That was a long time ago.
The guy that used to be in Hogan's Heroes used to host that show.
Wasn't it the Newlywed Game?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was Family Feud or something like that.
Anyway, I was thinking
Alex,
of something else entirely.
Welcome to the Indie Music Podcast.
I was going to say, I think it was Joe Barresi who says he has a boombox that he uses as his grout box. Like if it sounds good coming out of his boombox, which he has hooked up to his desk, then it's good.
Interesting. I wish I had a boombox.
I think computer speakers would be a good approximation of that. If you have okay computer speakers, like the ones that used to come with your Dell or whatever.
Yeah. I've got this little, it's a mono globe Bluetooth speaker.
Oh yeah, Bluetooth speakers. I mean, I mentioned Alexa, but those, the kids today, Bluetooth speakers are something that music should be sounding good through. In fact, you know what? My kid has one. I swear,
a lot of people listen in mono.
I swear it's the size of a walnut, like a big walnut. It's like rubber coated, and he bought it because he could take it in the shower. And he plays that freaking thing so loud that over the shower in the next room, you can hear the music clearly out of this tiny little Bluetooth speaker. And yes, it drives me crazy, but I'm so impressed. But that's also the kind of thing you should be checking through, because the whole point is translation. You want it to sound good on whatever people are listening to it on, right?
Yeah, I've had people come back and say, hey, this sounds really good, like on my phone and stuff, but it's not translating well to this other speaker that I've been listening on. And I was like, gosh, I wonder what that is, and they were auditioning the masters on a live stage vocal monitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a PA monitor.
Yeah. Like the ones like a wedge, like you'd put on stage?
Yeah, like a wedge.
Those are not full range.
I was like, well, I don't have one of those. So I can see where I missed it there. I think we eventually got it. It was because their expectation was it's going to sound good on the monitor.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's like, you really want to say, hey, this master's good.
Right.
And I know you're listening to it on that speaker, but that speaker's not good.
Right.
And so I would like you to trust me here. What do you say?
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, yeah, it should sound good on a PA, but not on a wedge.
Not on a wedge.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I have had to, and sometimes you do have to go back and say, wait, I thought it sounded great and you don't think it sounds good. What are you listening to it on? And they'll go, oh yeah, I'm just, playing it in my, my brother's car or whatever. Like, maybe listen to it on something else before you come to any conclusions.
Yep. I mean, have you ever considered that your mixes could potentially get played in an arena PA system?
Have I considered it? Yeah, I considered it. I don't have any way of testing that out, but I do think about that.
That's when you want to have. That's when it's important to be able to have a handle on reproducing and hearing the low end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Down as far as you can go. Because if it gets out to a system like that, and they've got like a full line array of subwoofers, and they could have 6 to 10 subs on each side, plus then the mains. I don't know that anything I've ever done has been played in an arena. I would love to hear that, though. Just to get an idea.
Now I'm getting all sad because I miss going to see live music.
Yeah, true. I'm doing a live gig tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I have bought my first concert tickets in over a year. I'm going to go see some shows. In August, I'm going to see a show. I'm excited.
Nice.
See my friends again.
Yeah, my band is in town app has started giving me notifications again.
Yeah. I mean, mine's been blowing up.
If only I lived in those places.
Yeah, I think can't you tune that to have it only tell you when they're actually going to be within driving distance?
Yeah, I think I've got it like within 120 miles or something like that. Nothing's any closer, so.
Yeah, I'm probably not driving 100 miles to see anything.
I may have done it. You can go up to Chicago or down to St. Louis, and that's where the big concerts are.
I guess I'm spoiled.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am. Like, San Jose is already too far.
Oh, I like San Jose.
Yeah, I saw Ozzy Osbourne there.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Slash's Snake Pit opened for them with Miles Kennedy singing Guns N' Roses song. And then Ozzy played all his hits. That was a great show. Took my kids to that. It's far, though. It's like almost spend the night far for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Concerts.
How about this podcast? What do you audition this podcast?
Do I audition this podcast? Good question. I have, but I don't anymore. I used to do what I in the early days before I had all my chains dialed in. I used to do what I do with music, which is I'm going to try your text thing, but I throw it on Dropbox and then I just play it through my earbuds with the Dropbox player while I'm out taking a walk. Yeah. And I did do that in the beginning, just to make sure it translated the way I thought it did. But now, like you, I have it all dialed in and I know exactly what it's going to sound like. So I don't.
Yeah. I do all mine in my headphones.
Yeah, same.
So the podcast, literally everything, this whole podcast from where we're recording right now to when I go into post and do that work on the backside. Everything's I used to do it like in my monitors, but I just throw the headphones on now and do it in that.
Yeah, I do too. Cause if I ever play this out loud, it's only by accident. It's funny.
So yeah, anyway, I mean, that's pretty much everything how I audition, it's pretty simple for my stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward for me and not atypical, but I do think it's important to know your speakers well, try it on a few different things so that you know that it translates. Try the left ear only trick or the mono trick or the, flip the phase trick. I like that. I'm going to use that one more.
Yeah. Now, one thing, if there was one want, definitely not a need, but I would like to really have a pair of Aventone cubes, and I would probably replace the M Audios with those, because then I would use, that would be really useful for all kinds of stuff. That would be even more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the NS10s are more, I think those would be a lot more unforgiving.
That's the word, unforgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned I have one and it's just sitting here and I'm just using it as a stand. It's an
Aventone?
Well, it's a baritone. It's made by Behringer, but it's an Aventone clone. And
is it powered?
Yeah, it's powered.
You should set it up and use it as a mono or center.
I know, I have it right here and it's ready to go. I just forget to use it. It's what my it's right now. It's a stand for my interface and my desk fan.
Mailing you a booklet of Post-it notes.
I have Post-it notes.
And I'm going to write on the top one.
Hook up
your baritone.
Yeah, it's good. It's got a little 5-inch driver. Here's what happened. I took the baritone and I liked it. And I was using it.
I'm looking it up right now.
And then I went and I looked at the manual and then I took the EQ curve that it uses and I made an EQ preset, and now I use the EQ preset instead of actually running things through the baritone. I have the preset called Bad Speaker, and I check that. I check mixes through that, and if I can hear everything, then it's pretty good.
There's another brand, Audition.
Yes.
I didn't find yours.
I don't. They may be
got sound
discontinued.
cubes.
Yeah, there's been a few Audition and Soundcube clones because the original one is been discontinued for a while.
I'm assuming these less expensive ones are not powered. Like the last thing I want to do is add another amplifier just to run some mix cubes.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past you though. You got room?
I do have room, and I don't like having a room. I think the room should be filled up with stuff.
I agree. You have a nice big room.
I mean,
and
there's nothing lonelier than an empty rack space.
But your room should be clean. It should only be filled with sound. Well, maybe a couple of plants. Sound
reproduction, amplifiers, guitars, guitar stands, a mic stand.
And one of those Marshall amp mini fridges.
Oh, God, I won't. But I'll have to put that in the other room because those make noise.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, put that on your Christmas list.
I've always wanted one of those. I just actually saw a Marshall head floor mat.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. And so it's really cool. I mean, they did a nice job, and it looks like, I'm like, man, I'd like to have that, like it coming into the studio door.
I have a floor mat coming into my studio. I should get one of those Marshall ones, man. I'm putting that on my Christmas list.
I think I saw that Marketplace or something the other day.
Cool.
It fooled me because at first I thought it was a plug-in. Oh, wow, a Marshall plug-in. But I looked closer because it didn't look like a real head,
Yeah.
But it looked like a plug-in ad. But then I realized, oh, that's a floor mat.
Oh, that's funny. It's hard to tell sometimes. All right.
Well, anyway.
So listeners, how do you audition your music? And how do you listen to this podcast? Do you listen on an Audition?
Do you listen on anything that you can leave a review or
because that would
rating?
Be fantastic if you could leave a review and tell your friends about it.
I love that idea.
I love it too. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. We do appreciate you, and we hope you have a great week making music.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Indie Music Podcast. Please like and subscribe, share with your friends, or just leave us a review on iTunes if you like what you've heard. Find our social links and episode guide at indiemusiccast.com. Until next time, keep creating.
Can't you see I'm recording here? Yeah, look at the sign. This is the shred. No jackhammer zone.